This tutorial is going to cover how to create a template in ZipForms. Templates are helpful for two reasons. First of all, they give you a place to collect the standard forms that you would use in a typical transaction, whether it's a buyer transaction or a seller transaction, and also because they allow you to pre-fill fields from the individual forms that are going to remain consistent from transaction to transaction, specifically your name, your broker information, phone numbers, emails, and things of that nature. So here we go. I'm going to log into ZipForms. Okay. We're going to log into ZipForms. By default, ZipForms is going to take you to the screen of your recent transactions. I apologize for my slow computer. Once we get there, we are going to click on the tab towards the top that says Template List. If you already have created templates, they will show up on this list. But for today's tutorial, we're going to create a new template. So you're going to click on the little button that says New Template. I'm using Google Chrome for the first time and it's telling me that it's not supported, but we're just going to go ahead anyway. You're going to name your template. In this case, I'm just going to call it Buyer Form Template for Training, and then you're going to set the parameters for it. Obviously it's going to be a purchase since we're doing buyer forms, and residential, and you're going to hit OK. So now you're going to start adding forms into your template. Think about the forms that you typically use in a buyer transaction. You're obviously going to have the consumer notice. I'm sure you know, but the forms that are available are all the PAR standard forms. They're down here on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. They're listed alphabetically, numerically, categorized, and you can search for them. I typically use the search function, and I happen to know the acronyms since my state employment history. Everything's abbreviations, so for the consumer notice, it's CN. You could type in consumer notice and get the same result. We are doing a buyer transaction, so I'm going to double click on the buyer consumer notice. It is going to add it up above. And as we go form by form, we're going to figure out if there are fields in here that are going to remain consistent for all of the transactions. For instance, my name is going to remain consistent. So I'm going to type that in, as is my license number. Okay, that's about all we can fill in for this field, or this form. So we're going to move on and let's put in our buyer agency. Again, double clicking on it will add it to the template up above. And here's where we can fill in things like our broker name, our company address, our office phone number, our office fax, my name, my direct phone, my cell phone, my fax, and my email. these things are going to stay the same no matter what buyer I'm working with. You're not going to fill in any client information, as that is going to change obviously from transaction to transaction. You can fill in other fields, for instance, your minimum commission, transaction fee. And it's probably important to note that while you're going to fill these in here, you can change it then on an individual transaction. So if you have a transaction that's going to be a little out of the ordinary, you can always change this in that specific transaction. But this is a huge time saver. If 99% of the deals that you do are the same or on a given field, you're going to want to fill that in so that it's there, it's already typed in, you don't have to type it in every time. Anything else that you typically fill in, go ahead and fill that in here. And that's about it for the buyer agency. Continuing on, the standard forms, obviously the agreement of sale. You can add that in. And it will have already filled in your information on the buyer's relationship section. Took that from the buyer agency, so that's fine. If there are fields that you typically fill in on the agreement of sale, they always stay the same, go ahead and fill those in. For instance, sure, we always check the box that says the seller is limited to retaining the good faith deposit in the event of default. So you can go ahead and check that, and it will always be checked when you use this template for your buyer transactions. That's the only one I'm going to fill in on the agreement of sale. We also have the cooperating broker compensation form. And I can go ahead and put in our information here under the selling broker, and I can put my name in the accepted by field. Another field another form we're always going to have would be the deposit money notice. You can add that in. Sorry, I don't know what's taking so long. There we go. It has us in here. You could put your name in the witness field if you wanted to do that. And that's about it for standard buyer's forms. Now, please note, people have asked me, there is no way to import PDFs that you normally use. If it's not a standard PAR form, you're not going to be able to import it into ZipForms and use it that way. An example is the North Mountain Settlement Services disclosure. You cannot import that into ZipForms and make that part of this template. So that's unfortunate, but that is the limitation that it has. So we've completed our template for a buyer transaction. We're going to click Save, and our template has been saved. Now, in order to use this template, we're going to go back to, we're going to create a new transaction up on the top left-hand side of the screen. Let's just say I have a, I'm going to call this training transaction. It's a purchase. In this drop-down box where it says Apply Template, you click on the down arrow, and there's the template we created, Buyer Forms Template for Training. Click on that and hit OK. It's going to create your new transaction. The information that you have pre-filled is going to be there. My name, my license number. Let's go to the agreement of sale so you can see that. There's my information as the buyer's agent. You don't have to type all that in on every transaction. And again, you can change it if you need to for this specific transaction. And it's that simple. You can set up another template for the seller forms that you normally use and do the same thing there. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call or stop by my office. Thank you. Bye-bye.